Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It's about 6:40 p.m. Eastern Time here, 5:40 Central Time. It is Monday evening, February the 17th, President's Day, 2014. And this is your long-range video update. And if you want the quicker version than just the short 5 or 6 minute version, you can go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/user/WilhiteWX, and choose the quick cast option, and you'll be able to have a shorter version. But in this longer version, I'm going to go through all of the in-depth parameters for what to expect for those of us who have a definite passion for the weather and love it and want to know what's going on. You'll definitely learn some things out of this video. But if you want the quick version, again, just go and look for the one that says Quick Cast. All right. This video update is being sponsored by High Voltage Mobile DJ Services. You can contact Nathan at 630-9465 and tell him SouthernIndianaWeather.com sent you. And you can also go there on the webpage here, as you can see on your screen. All right, Thursday is going to be the main show. Really, we're looking at sunshine and maybe a few clouds on Wednesday as well. But 50s for the next couple of days. Pretty much boring weather, but I'm loving boring weather. I'm going to enjoy the sunshine. Get in out and enjoy it while you can, because by Thursday, even though we warm up, we've got some pretty rough weather to deal with. All right. For that reason, and by the way, I'm forecasting a high of 62 on Thursday, just to give you a little bit of a preview for that. You don't warm up this time of the year into the 60s without paying some sort of a price when your average high is 47. All right. Storm Prediction Center has already outlined us with a slight risk for severe weather on Thursday, and it popped up as a 5%. It's not. It's actually 30% risk. This far out, they only issue slight risks that are 30% or more. You can see it's a very broad region. If I just zoom out here, we'll take off the counties so that you can see it a little easier here. And wow, look how many counties the states this literally encompasses. So a very broad swath. If you go to the Storm Prediction Center's website, spc.noaa.gov, you can find the same thing. The threat then moves off east here on Friday. But as you can see, if you just zoom in, every county here in Indiana is pretty much covered. So we are all under the gun as far as this goes with our chances for severe weather. Right now for tonight, though, we had a pretty big swath of rain move through, and it was pretty nasty, and especially for those into the north. Sometimes it just takes a little for the screenshot to load here. It's pretty graphic intensive, but you can see this red is the freezing rain, and they had some freezing rain and sleet and snow up to our north. It was just all rain and plenty of rain down here for us, and so hopefully it melted some of the slop away that we had. I know my porch finally got de-iced a little bit, and so that's nice. We will take it. It looks like we got some warm weather on the way, though, that will certainly help that. I want to start out tonight by showing you future radar, and this will help give you an idea for what to expect on Thursday. It does look like this is going to set up to be pretty much a linear mode for severe weather, and I'll show you that here as we move through. Here's that rain and junk moving off to our east today. Tuesday and Wednesday, we stay pretty much dry. By the time you get into the overnight hours, here's 7 p.m. on Wednesday, you start to see some rain moving our way, and then that's, of course, going to head back and move towards our way, as you can see here, during the overnight hours, Wednesday night into Thursday morning. By the time we hit 7 a.m. on Thursday morning, it's just a few showers around here, but we're going to be looking at probably mostly cloudy sky on Thursday. Maybe a few peaks of sunshine, but certainly not a sunny day by any means the way things look. You've got storms starting already to develop out here to our west as we move this into motion. Here we are at 11 o'clock, and here we are by 1 in the afternoon. You're starting to see by 1 in the afternoon what could be a line starting to form, and you'll see that very quickly congeal into a line around St. Louis as you move into about the 4 p.m. time frame, 5 p.m. time frame. And then here we go about 8 o'clock at night. The line is almost to the Wabash River. You notice it doesn't look overly impressive just yet. But if I just put this one forward in time, by 11 o'clock that night, notice how impressive it gets. It goes from just darker green shades to those heavier shades that we know bring heavier rain, and you can see it's congealed into quite a nice line. So if we are lucky, we may avoid some of the severe weather. It may actually start to go severe as it moves through Indiana, rather than as it moves through Illinois. If it starts to go severe as it moves through Illinois and then moves our way, then we've got a decent shot of everyone getting some severe weather. But if it just stays heavy rain and then starts to go severe as it moves over us, some of our counties will miss it. So it would be a better scenario if it does play out like this, but we'll have to see. But you can see regardless, at some point in time, it does congeal into a squall line and then sort of pushes off to our east. So we'll have to watch that. Let's take a look at the models and just get an idea on the timing. We're looking with a major warm-up. The good thing about this is all of the major models are actually in pretty good agreement on this event. We'll take a look at the NAM here, the regular NAM. The high-resolution NAM does not see out this far yet. The high-resolution NAM only sees out to 60 hours. We're here at 66 hours by the time you even get this thing into our area. So tomorrow the high-res models will start to see it, and we may be able to get a little bit more of an idea for this. But as we put this into motion, here we are. Here's 11 on Thursday, and then here we are at 1 on Thursday. Here's 5, and here we are by 7 o'clock at night, and you've got the cold front. And by the way, you just take a line. If you want to draw the cold front on it, we'll take a line right through all of these little kinks where they come to a V, and that's where your cold front would be. So you can see cold front is basically knocking on our doorstep, and I expect that the squall line will probably be pretty much near or just ahead of the cold front. That's going to be where most of your instability is going to be focused. All right. So that's going to take us at about 7 p.m. before it knocks on our door, and then very quickly by 11 p.m. it is all gone. All right. GFS is in a similar vein to the NAM, though not quite the same. You can see here it comes, and by 7 p.m. it has already knocked the cold front mostly through. So the GFS, and by 11 it's through the entire state. So GFS is a little faster solution than the NAM is. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Again, this far out, the timing on it we can't nail down exactly. Yeah, all we can say is it looks like a Thursday afternoon and early evening thing from the time being. Doesn't look like it'll go into the overnight hours at this point. But we'll see. Sometimes the models speed up, sometimes they slow down. So as we get to the coming days, you'll be able to see this a little bit more. We take a look at the Canadian. I just want you to see, again on this, a very similar vein. Here it comes, though, but it's a much slower solution. Here it is, 7 p.m., and the cold front is still out towards St. Louis, and it is by about 1 in the morning before it's through our area. So again, the Canadian is even slower than what the GFS is at this point. So NAM is the fastest, and you got the GFS a little slower. The Canadian just pokes it through. If we take a look at the Euro model, here we are at 7 a.m. on Thursday. And very quickly, here we are by 1 in the afternoon on Thursday, still way out to our west. By 7 p.m. that night, again, it is very similar to those slower models as well. The NAM is very fast with this. The other big three are not. It is not even to the Wabash River yet. And then, of course, by the time 1 in the morning comes, it is mostly through the state as well. So, again, general idea with this is it's looking more like an evening setup for the way things go, and probably before midnight it'll be through most of our area. Severe weather parameters are still looking pretty good. If we take a look at what, let's actually go over here to, let me hit the NAM here, and we'll take a look at the NAM first. The NAM is a more high resolution model and deals with thunderstorms generally a little bit better than what the GFS model does. So we'll start with here for time's sake and see whether we have time to go towards the others. I try to keep these 15 minutes or under just for the sake of not making them too long. I want to, for those of you that do like the longer range forecasts and the more in-depth weather information, and I'm really surprised how many of you are weather nerds like me and want to know that. And it's encouraging, and I'm glad and I'm happy to do these things. As you can see, I have a strong passion for this, but I also want to keep them enough that, most people are going to want to watch them. I could talk about this for 2 or 3 hours easily. There wouldn't be a problem with me on that. I love doing this, folks. But let's take a look at the NAM first, and again, then we'll look at the GFS maybe if we have time. What we're looking at right here are winds at about 18,000 feet up, so we're at the 500 millibar level, and just this is all in knots. So again, you got 60 and 70 knot winds that far over us. And what you want to look at on this, by the way, and this is for about 7 p.m., so that's when the cold front would be close to knocking on our door. Here's what I want to annotate and sort of show you this. Let me highlight this in red. Notice where this is rounding up here, and then the line moves over towards this. And then right down here where you've got the next, this is what I'm highlighting is what we call the vort max, the most max intense part of the vorticity of the winds. And notice the different directions they are going. We'll call this divergence as a technical term. And whenever you have divergence, it's just winds going out in different ways like that. That's conducive to severe weather. That's conducing to rising motion in the atmosphere. So that's certainly something that is going to be a player to put this greatest severe weather threat pretty much right over us from the way this looks right here. If we go down in the atmosphere a little bit to about 4,000 to 5,000 feet, here we are at the low level jet at the 850 millibar level. Again, you've still got a 60 knot wind. Folks, that's absolutely impressive. Again, if you don't know what the low level jet is, I've said this several times, but if you don't remember or haven't watched those videos where I've said that before, just look up in the clouds, and if you see the clouds that are just absolutely whipping by at a just looks like they're going like a semi down an interstate. They're just going ridiculously fast. All right, that's your low-level jet. That's what's pushing those low-level clouds along real fast. And a 60-knot wind is about 65 to 70 miles an hour, somewhere in that frame. I don't remember the exact conversion ratio there, but it's a little higher. It's about 1.18 miles per hour per knot. So I think so. You do the math, but that's a screaming wind. And then as you go up to the jet stream level, about 35,000 feet, winds are howling close to 100 knots over us. So, point being, there will be absolutely plenty of wind energy over us at the time, without a question. Now, because there's plenty of wind energy over us, if we take a look at our bulk shear product, what you'll find is plenty of bulk shear. Bulk shear is what we're looking at, is just the change in wind speed as you go up into the atmosphere. So you're looking at a 50 to 60 knot change in wind speed as you go from down to the surface up to about 18,000 feet up. That, by the way, is what we're looking at for rotation in the storms, which is critical for development and for thunderstorms, but also for tornadoes. If you take a look at your crossover, what we're looking at here is change in wind direction as you go up in the atmosphere. And not too bad, only tilted here a little bit. See up here where you've got strong this way and then up in the atmosphere strong that way. That's conducive to tornadoes. And I'm not saying that there's a tornado threat up here, because I don't know that the severe weather threat's going to extend up this far. Quite frankly, it's going to be more in an area like this, but down here possibly. But over here right now, not just a slight gradient, not as strong as it has been in some of the past model runs. So that's good, at least. The other thing I want to show you really quickly, let's talk about the tornado potential. And if I could get it on here we go. Let's look at the EHI, the Energy Helicity Index. For these, basically what we're looking at is a tornado parameter. All right, if you get into the greens over 1, you've got a threat for some strong tornadoes, and you don't see it over us. You see just some very minor, maybe a half of a point rather than 1 point. So the threat is there, but it is minimal. Again, with the looks at future radar, with this being in a Boeing with a line segment, I would be more concerned about the winds racing ahead of that, Boeing it out. And where you start to get that Boeing motion, that's where you get the damaging straight line winds from. That would be more of a threat with this as well. As far as instability, you don't need a whole lot of instability this time of the year to be able to get mini storms to fire. The NAM is progging us with a little bit of instability here, about 250 units, even upwards of 500, 750 units down over here encroaching on southwest Indiana. So that's more than enough. During the summertime, you're going to need 1,500 up to 3,000 units, depending on how hot the temperatures are in the atmosphere. This time of the year, when it's still pretty much the dead of winter, honestly, 250 units, even 100 units of instability is enough to fire some severe weather for us around here. So plenty of instability to work with is my point. All the parameters seem to be coming together, and of course instability is just warmth and moisture. There will be plenty of moisture if we just take a look at the amount of precipitable water coming up here. If I can find it, here we go. What you're going to see is literally just a plume of moisture coming up out of the Gulf of Mexico up into here, and plenty of moisture. We won't look at the GFS for the sake of time, but if I were to take you through the GFS, and this is the NAM, if I take you through the GFS, you find something very similar. Good model agreement on this. Even the Euro is having some of the same similar parameters, just maybe a little bit lower than this, but that's pretty common. So not bad as far as severe weather parameters are concerned. That's pretty impressive. Temperature-wise, let's talk about that, and that'll be our last thing we do before we look at the 7-day. Temperatures up to near the 60-degree mark with the GFS. With the Canadian, it soars us into the low 60s here. With the Euro model, it soars us even higher, and with the NAM, it also soars us into that near 60-degree mark. So plenty of warm weather to work with. All right, sunshine today. You go to southernindianaweather.com and you can get the 7-day forecast, folks. Beautiful next couple of days, but again, that slight risk of severe weather possible on Thursday with a high of 63. And then we cool it down a little bit after that, but not too bad. But by the time next week comes, I hate to even put this in there, but I'm not covering it yet because we've got some severe weather to roll through yet. But we do have a rain snow mix in the forecast for next Monday. Don't shoot the messenger, folks. But the Climate Prediction Center, excuse me, taking a look at next week's temperatures got us in the well below normal category. So it looks like 20s and 30s, upper 20s into mid 30s for highs potentially after this week. So that stinks, but unfortunately, we'll just roll with the punches and take it as it comes. We'll have another one of these updates tomorrow, so we'll see you then. Take care.